Modern love made simple. This is Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman.
Hello, lovers. Welcome to Dates and Mates. I'm your host, certified dating coach Damona Hoffman. So back in 2015, you might remember that Issa Rae sparked a little bit of controversy when she wrote, "If dating were an assortment of Halloween candy, Black women and Asian men would be the Tootsie Rolls and the candy corn, the last to be eaten, if eaten at all." And this basically was her proposing that Black women and Asian men should join forces in love because we're like the last ones left in the bowl. The joke was controversial, but it turns out there are many people who feel the same way. And so today I want to examine how internalized racism and stereotypes may be preventing us from finding love. And I'm dedicating this episode to those who may be feeling left behind in dating. Joining me today on the show is ABCs of Attraction founder JT Tran. He is USA's #1 Asian dating coach. If you haven't heard of the ABCs of Attraction, let me tell you, it's the world's only multicultural, holistic approach dating company. You've seen JT's work on NBC, Nightline, ABC, and LA Weekly, but he's also taught at Harvard, Yale, Wharton, and the like. So listen up, y'all, because he is the real deal. And so if you've been slacking on your dating strategy, get out your pen and paper because JT Tran is going to set you straight today. So we will talk about JT's approach to race and dating, pickup artistry, and inspiring stories on love and how he's helped men overcome these obstacles. But first, we are going to hit the headlines, including, is marriage obsolete? And have you broken the unwritten rules of dating? Plus, who is Leonardo DiCaprio dating? And why should you even care? Plus, we'll be answering your questions like, what's with getting ghosted and then having them come back from the dead? And how you can be engaging at a singles mixer. All that and more on today's Dates and Mates. So to kick it off with me, let's give big smooches to my guest, JT Tran.
Hey, thanks for having me on. You're a great hype woman. I'm like, who is this amazing sounding guy?
It's you. But this is what you do for so many guys as well. You make them feel like they are the king, like they can attract women. And I find that confidence is really the key to overcoming a lot of these obstacles. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. Producer Leah's on the ones and twos.
Hey guys.
You ready to dish?
I'm ready to dish.
D's dating dish.
JT, is marriage obsolete? There was an article in the Cut. It's part of, they're doing this whole series on understanding marriage, as if we can understand it. And they interviewed Eli Finkel, who's a professor of psychology at Northwestern, my alma mater. And they were examining how marriage has changed. Like, I know you coach men on being more successful with women, but I wonder if like the goalpost has changed. It used to be you would date for marriage, to find a nice woman, to settle down, to raise your kids. But like those are 1960s rules. Do you feel like the goal of marriage is something that most of the men that you coach are not looking for anymore?
No. It's actually kind of the reverse because I primarily teach Asian men. Asian men in general, we're culturally taught to gravitate towards marriage. Now, has it changed, in the 21st century? For sure. Especially here in America. But in general, like with my students, my clients, they want to generally get married. They just don't know how to get there. They don't know how to date. But part of coming over from a country over in Asia to America is they themselves have to adjust that maybe marriage isn't as, quote unquote, traditional as it was back in the motherland where the wife is expected to stay at home. Right?
Yeah. And that, I think that has changed. That's changed in the States substantially since the 1950s, wife stayed at home and did all of that. And really marriage was more about collaboration and a partnership. Like it was about getting your needs met. And if you have somebody that's making your food and ironing your clothes and your children are taken care of and the corn gets shucked or whatever, then your life is good.
Yeah.
But then around the 1960s, it started to shift, and people were like, well, I don't want my spouse to just be for sustenance. And as women moved into the workforce, they were like, I need somebody that's taking care of me emotionally, and I need to be in love with them, and I have to be attracted to them, and then we have to have sex all the time. And there were just all these other pressures put on marriage. And I wonder, like, I'm a big fan of marriage. I've been married. I always forget how long. It doesn't matter how long I've been married. Don't tell my husband. I can't remember. But I'm a big fan of marriage. But I realize that's not really the goal for everyone. And I think it's different qualities that we're looking for now than we used to. And people seem to be putting so much pressure on that person to be their everything. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of that where we have like so many options, we get paralyzed by it. Like you can always like swipe, and you're dating someone, and it's like you think like, okay, you know what, it's not working out, so let me just swipe and find someone else, right? That love and having a relationship it's a choice, you know, to have that love, to work through it, right? As opposed to falling into the trap. It's like, you know what, love is disposable. I can find the next one. And it's definitely changed, and that's part of technology and the changing dating mores. And, you know, some of it's good, some of it's bad, but we do have to adjust to it.
Yes, and we do have to keep in mind that your partner is your partner. They don't need to also be your best friend, your tennis buddy, you know, like your financial business partner. I feel like we're just putting so much pressure on one person to provide for all of our needs. And it's just no wonder people are getting divorced, because one person can't provide all that for you. That's
Sure.
my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Plenty of Fish gave us the rules yet again. The rules have been rewritten, and you might be breaking them. They published a piece. It was kind of inspired by, you remember Jordan Woods, and she was best friends with Kylie Jenner, and then she may or may not have hooked up with Tristan Thompson, who was dating Khloe, who is Kylie's sister. And everybody's like, Jordan broke the rules. So they wrote the rules for us. Thou shalt never flirt with a friend's partner. Thou shalt never date or hook up with a friend's ex. Thou shalt never date or hook up with a friend's sibling. Didn't say a friend's sibling's partner, but I digress. Have you ever broken any of these unwritten dating rules?
Well, I've dated a
friend's
friend's
partner?
ex, but I talked to my friend about it first before I did that.
And was it okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was like years apart, so it wasn't like fresh or anything like that. Like everyone had moved on. So if they're my friend, I'm going to be like, hey, this is, you know, she's interested in me, I'm interested in her. Is it cool? Right.
Now, what if you had said, is it cool? And your friend was like, nah, man, it's not cool. Would you have been like, okay, I'll just move on? Or would it have come to blows?
Again, it depends on like how much I like the girl and just whether or not I feel like my friend is being immature about it. If it's you know, if it's a recent breakup, I'll be like, okay, it's inappropriate of me. But if it's like years and like, you know, he's dating someone, like what right does he have claim on her? This is more a notification of saying like, hey, you know, hopefully you guys have moved on. I don't want you to be hurt by and surprised, but you know, we're interested in each other.
I've definitely seen friendships break up over this. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think I've changed my stance on this, JT, because I used to say, you know, coming from being like a high school girl, girl code is no joke. Like there's a very strong girl code. If you so much as have a crush on a guy and your friend goes for him, that is the end. That is just, you just cross the line. She called dibs. Right. Yeah. If you call dibs, forget about it. And I did have friendships that ended over that. But now I'm like, that is actually kind of ridiculous, because I feel like it's your job to find the person that's the best match for you. And if they were not the best match, that person shouldn't keep you from happiness if maybe you would have been a better match for one another than they were.
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, people don't own other people or claim. This is more about like being aware of other people's feelings and not wanting them to get hurt. right? So just because you're an ex doesn't mean like you have claim on her or him for all of eternity.
What about a friend's sibling? Like, you know, you could walk away from an ex, but you can't really walk away from your brother. I mean, I guess you could, but you're always going to be related to them. Do you think that there's a code around that?
Again, I mean, that hasn't happened to me, but I would probably talk to the brother because unlike the friend, like you were saying, the brother is always going to be there. And if things progress really well, you'll be part of their family. And you don't want like your former best friend to hate your guts.
Especially if he's going to be your brother-in-law, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one person that doesn't seem to care who he offends in his dating practices is Leonardo DiCaprio. There was an article that came out this week, Leo's dating habits gross people out. And I had actually seen about 2 months ago, there was this infographic that showed all the women that Leo has dated and how, you know how that saying, I keep getting older, but they keep staying the same age?
Yeah.
Leo has completely nailed that technique. He has a total type, like all of these tall, blonde, thin, young women, all under the age of 25. And when you see it in the chart, we'll actually put it in the blog post for this episode in datesandmates.com. But it is a little bit striking. And, you know, I'm all about just find love in whatever form, and age ain't nothing but a number. But if the number, Leo, is 44 and your girlfriend is 21, so she's less, I'm not a math whiz, but she's less than half your age, right? Is that a problem?
I mean, I suppose like some people might look down on it, right? I mean, it's, as I say, age is nothing but a number, right? Like, you know, I think it's just being open-minded about like, okay, if women want to date older, you know, it's not like that's frowned upon. While Leo dating younger, it's like, okay, maybe he has more problem of settling down than it is with dating younger. That's, you know, what it seems more like to me, right? Because like I've talked to girls that have seen him at clubs. You know, I have a friend that like her and her girlfriend kind of got into that social circle, and she's like dating one of his buddies. And the way they describe it is when Leo's at a club, every girl just gravitates around him. It is a complete like black hole vortex. And when you're in that position where you have like so much abundance, it would be hard to settle down, right? So maybe that's more mentality rather than just age. Is like at a certain point, it's like we're talked about like love being disposable. Maybe he needs to get out of the club scene, right?
Yeah. Well, he's 44, so yeah, he needs to get out of the club scene. He's like, now, Leo, you're the old guy in the club. And, you know, I talk a lot about dating in the right pool, like going to the place where the singles that you want to meet or the singles that who would want to meet you are. So if he's always hanging out in the club or he's always hanging out with younger people or, I don't know, modeling agents, because he seems like he's sort of an amateur model scout now because so many of his girlfriends have been models. But it seems like there's a couple of things going on. One, he's just not in a circle where he's meeting more mature women that are more like age appropriate for him or that are even just in the same phase of life. Like these women are just kind of starting out their careers and their lives. And he's like in a total, he's fully middle age now. Leo, you middle-aged. Okay. So there's that element, but then also it feels like he hasn't done any sort of inner work. Like when you're Leonardo DiCaprio, you don't really have to work for anything. Like the women just fall in your lap, like you were saying, and the jobs just fall in your lap. You don't have to do a lot of self-work. But I know you like guys may be looking at that thinking, well, I could get then a 21-year-old and why the heck not? But I'm sure a lot of the men that you coach, they're there because the self-work needs to be done, right?
Yeah. Not everybody can replicate what Leo is doing. It's
or
not something,
or even
it's not something I recommend every guy go out there. It's like, all right, I'm going to try to get me like a 18-year-old girl model. But no, you're right. Like with someone like Leo, where you've experienced so much success, and you're having partners who themselves aren't going through a similar journey, or like they're on the very cusp of their journey. Like, you know, again, that inner work is going to be there, right?
Right, exactly. Well, enough about Leo. I want to talk about you all at home. JT Tran is going to be joining me after the break to talk about some of this inner work and how we can make people feel more confident in their own skin, whatever color, whatever culture it comes in, and make more successful relationships that maybe cross-cultural barriers or cultural norms. What do you think about that?
Be happy to.
All right. Stick around with us. I'm Damona Hoffman. We'll be right back.